Gary Burghoff's connection to the iconic character of Radar O'Reilly began long before MASH became a television phenomenon. In 1970, when Robert Altman adapted the film MASH, Burghoff, a 26-year-old stage actor and jazz drummer from Connecticut, was cast as the young company clerk. At that time, Gary was still relatively unknown, performing in regional theater and off-Broadway productions. Yet, Altman saw something in him, a unique innocence and vulnerability that could provide emotional grounding amid the chaotic satire of the Korean War. Burghoff's performance, though brief, left a lasting impression on the audience, and it was Radar's sweetness and empathy that softened the sharp edges of the film. His portrayal of Radar became the emotional anchor of the story, and his natural tenderness was integral in making the character a fan favorite. MAS*H. On television, Gary's reluctance and role. When CBS adapted MASH* into a television series in 1972, Gary was the only actor from the original film asked to reprise his role. At first, he hesitated. The spirit of Altman's film was raw and rebellious, something television often sanitized, especially with the use of canned laughter and stricter network guidelines. Gary feared that MASH would lose the depth and complexity of its message. Yet, the pull to revisit Radar, expand him from comic relief into a full character, was too great to resist. When the series premiered, it redefined television. Set in Korea, but airing during the height of the Vietnam War, MASH resonated deeply with its audience. Amidst the chaos of war, Radar stood apart, a symbol of innocence and empathy. His connection to the audience deepened, and soon, Radar became the heart of the 477th. Radar's endearing qualities. Gary's personal touch. By the second season, Radar had evolved into a beloved character, and Gary's portrayal of him struck a perfect balance of sweetness, awkwardness, and sincerity. Fans adored his shy demeanor, his stammering sir responses, and the ever-present teddy bear. What many didn't know, however, was that many of these qualities, like the bear and Radar's nervous tics, were Gary's inventions, drawn not from the script, but from his own instincts as an actor. His ability to bring depth to such a seemingly simple character made Radar a standout. But as the show progressed, Gary began to feel the weight of expectations. While his co-stars, like Alan Alda and Wayne Rogers, were able to explore more complex adult roles, Gary was pressured to maintain Radar's innocence. The more Radar was loved, the more Gary feared being seen as anything else. The pressure of perfection, Gary's struggles behind the scenes. The pressure to maintain Radar's boyish purity became suffocating for Gary. The show's producers insisted on preserving Radar's innocence, and the audience expected it week after week. But as the seasons wore on, Gary found himself feeling trapped. The role that had once felt fulfilling now felt like a cage. He became hyper-aware of every note from the writers, every change in direction, and every criticism. His perfectionism intensified, leading to internal struggles. His frustrations weren't just about his character's limitations, but also the emotional toll the role took on him. While his co-stars could deflect their personal exhaustion through humor or sarcasm, Gary absorbed the sadness and fatigue of each episode. This made the line between Gary and Radar increasingly difficult to separate, leaving him withdrawn and introspective off-screen. Creative tensions. Gary's frustration with the show's direction. By the fourth season, Alan Alda had taken a leading role in the creative direction of MASH, co-writing episodes, directing, and shaping the show's tone. While Alda's contributions were vital to the success of the series, Gary began to feel sidelined. Radar's character, who had once been the emotional heart of the show, was now being overshadowed by the more complex storylines of other characters. Gary longed for Radar to evolve, to explore deeper, darker layers of his character, but whenever he suggested changes, Alda vetoed them to maintain the balance of the show. To Gary, this felt like a personal rejection. To Alda, it was a professional decision aimed at protecting the show's core. The mutual respect between the two actors began to erode, leaving Gary feeling increasingly isolated. The breaking point: Gary's decision to leave. By 1979, Gary Burghoff had reached his breaking point. The pressure of fame and the emotional toll of playing Radar had become unbearable. His personal life was also suffering, with his marriage strained due to the long shooting days and promotional tours. After 7 years on the show, Gary told producers he wanted to leave after season 7. They convinced him to stay long enough to film a proper farewell for Radar. The 2-part episode, Goodbye Radar, aired in season 8, where Radar returns home to Iowa after the death of his uncle. Gary, however, disagreed with the director's vision for the farewell. While Charles S. Dubon envisioned a quiet, understated exit for Radar, Gary wanted a more dramatic, emotional departure. When the scene was filmed, Gary broke down in tears, but the performance felt forced, and the director's vision ultimately proved more powerful. In the end, Radar's departure was quiet, poignant, and respectful, a perfect farewell to the character. The aftermath: a bitter farewell or a necessary change. When Gary's departure aired, the rumors began. Tabloids painted him as difficult, moody, and even arrogant, but few took the time to understand his reasons for leaving. The truth, as Gary later explained, was that he was simply burnt out. The grueling MASH schedule, which consumed 10 months of the year, left him with little time for his family. He wanted to be a present father, not a mythical figure trapped in reruns. While Gary's decision was misunderstood by some, his co-stars, like Jaime Farr and Loretta Swait, understood the pressures he was facing. They acknowledged that he had withdrawn from the group, but they also recognized his brilliance. Over time, even Alan Alda reached out in friendship, expressing his admiration for Gary's work on the show. Life after MASH: Gary's quiet legacy. After leaving MASH, Gary Burghoff largely disappeared from the Hollywood spotlight. He took on a few guest roles and appeared in a short-lived spin-off pilot, but his focus shifted away from the fame game. He embraced a quieter life, away from red carpets and promotional tours. Instead, Gary found fulfillment in regional theater, wildlife painting, and voice work. He also became more involved in humanitarian efforts, such as supporting victims of California's wildfires in 2018. While he stayed out of the public eye, Gary's legacy continued to resonate with fans. He had given them a character who embodied kindness and innocence, and in doing so, he became a symbol of a gentler time in television history. Gary Burghoff's quiet gift: the timelessness of Radar. Gary Burghoff's portrayal of Radar O'Reilly continues to resonate with audiences, even decades after MASH's final episode. Radar's innocence, his empathy, and his ability to hear helicopters before anyone else became symbols of hope amidst the chaos of war. But Gary's real legacy isn't just about the character he portrayed. It's about his commitment to truth, both on and off the screen. In a world where fame often demands conformity, Gary remained true to himself, even if it meant walking away from the spotlight. Over time, the rumors and misunderstandings that once clouded his departure from the show have dissolved into admiration. Today, Gary's legacy is one of quiet gratitude, respect, and compassion, much like the character of Radar himself.